flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Newton's not here. Mr. Bruno?
Here.
Mr. Parati? Mr. Backo? Mr.
Here.
Randall?
Here.
I'm here.
Oh.
All right, the purpose of the public hearing is to hear comments for or against any items or items therein contained in the 2023 budget. So we'll entertain any public comments for the next little bit. And then we'll adjourn that part. If it's of good standing, we'll wait at least 3 or 4 minutes to see if we got anybody that shows up late.
Are you doing public comment now?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I got a few things I'd like to bring up. First of all, I got introduced to a new friend up on Richardson Avenue. You know, you guys have been talking about the pay for the code enforcement officer. I don't really think there's been anybody here that hasn't been up on Richardson Avenue since this water district stuff started. And I was amazed as to what I saw up there. I've made some copies for everybody, except for you, Mike.
This isn't anything to do
But what's going on up there?
This isn't anything to do with the budget.
That road is genuinely a junkyard up there.
All right, we'll take those, but that will have to be discussed at either a work session or we can discuss it on the 15th.
Want to see them too, bro?
Yes, please.
We're doing
Thank you.
That's all the copies I have, you'll have to
So
share.
if you have something with the budget, and yes, I'll address that another way. I can't do it during this time because this is for public hearing on the budget or against comments on it.
The first thing I'd like to talk about is that building you want to put up on the, for the winter time up on River Street Park.
Okay.
You know, I hate to say it, but that's right in a floodplain.
Yep.
So a permanent structure to me there is not a good thing. You ever think about maybe for $8,000-$10,000, a 12 by 20 building, like those Amish pre-made buildings and stuff? Now, when I say you put them on a set of skids, you know what I'm talking about? Set of skids?
Yeah. They're like runners.
So, yeah, so if it does flood up there, you could actually send Mike up with a front end loader or something and skid that out of the floodplain and save the building. You know, and it'd be a lot less money than $100,000. And what kind of repairs you're gonna put into that. I know it hasn't flooded in years, but it's gonna happen again. It's inevitable.
So to address that, I mean, nothing's been solidified on what type of building or what we are going to be able to build
Yeah.
there.
I understand that, but I know you
talk
put it
to-
into the budget, and this is just something that I'm not really too good with. I don't think it's a good thing to build a permanent structure in a flood zone.
Yeah, well, they haven't decided a
Right.
permanent structure. As a permanent structure, it may be a bathroom or a set of bathrooms with the tanks underneath. They're much like the porta potties, or they're a full structure with a changing area. But those are things that I'm working with the county planning
Yeah.
with. And according to the LiDAR, there are 3 places down there that we would be above what the flood stage area is down there.
Mhm.
So, and we also looked at permanent bathrooms up here as part of that. And with that, if we do a permanent septic at either one, you have to have enough money to complete the project. So,
Another thing I want to bring up is the garage. Have you ever approached anybody like overhead doors or something and see if you get a thicker seal, or if they have any way of you know, adapting the doors to close those gaps up until the actual permanent repairs can be done, instead of sinking $36,000 into temporary repairs? You know, does overhead door have some way of closing up
Well,
their gaps?
in the budget, we put in money for the actual full repairs with the drain replacement and the whole thing. That contract came in astronomically at
Yeah.
$203,000, so that is why we didn't award it, because we had nothing to compare it by. speaking with several of the contractors as of late, they think that that should be able to be done around $90,000 to $100,000. So they thought it was wise not to award that bid. But again, you got to remember we're paying prevailing wages, and we can't do anything about that. And once those go out to sealed bid, we have no say on what they're going to be until we get them, other than whether to award them. We always have the right to refuse any and all bidding.
But it just seems like put $36,000 into it, and maybe next year tear it all back out and do the whole floor and do a permanent fix to it.
Yeah,
It just seems like a lot of money to put into it.
Right, and what you're talking about is something that maybe on the, I guess we'll talk about on the agenda when we get to the budget part of that meeting, but would be a temporary fix, and there was a couple estimates that were received to do it. Could be a temporary or a permanent fix, depending on if they can tie it into the rest of the project when that bid goes out.
Well, yeah, I would
And
be something like
we'll
that,
discuss those numbers.
if they guarantee
One's a
they
little
can tie
higher
it
than
in.
that, one's quite a bit lower than the number you threw out there, but I'll wait and let the councilman.
Well, that's what was
look at those
discussed
numbers.
here, yeah, down right here, which right here.
Mhm.
And the only other thing I got is that splash pond out here.
Mhm.
When that project was first started, it was gonna be at no cost to taxpayers. And now it's dragged on so long that you're gonna put almost $50,000 tax money into that. You know, are you gonna get enough use out of that to justify that kind of money?
The city just put one in last year and it went over really big. Most of the
Well,
areas
the
that
city
have
has a lot more population and stuff too, for kids to go to these places, more access to it.
Let me know when you're done and then I'll answer the question, otherwise you're gonna cut me
Well,
out.
when you're
again.
gonna compare them, you gotta compare all the facts. You know, they have the access, they have the kids to play there and stuff like that. And yeah, go ahead. I just don't like putting another $48,000. We went from what, 90 something now to almost 150?
No, the original project grant was for $125,000. That was secured with Rick Potiker a few years with some of this board that is here. It kind of sat there, that isn't my fault or any of the constituents' fault, that it sat there for a period of time. I've been working on it for, well, about 2 years now to get the money back solid. And I just got some good news the other day that looks like they're gonna do final approval within next week. Do I think it'll be used? Yeah. We've proved that any of the amenities that we've added to the parks have been a good use. Most of the preliminary engineering was done. I stopped until we knew I stopped spending any more money on it until I knew we were still gonna get the $125,000. But there were certain things that needed to be done, like site plots and, costs, projected costs, so to get the project to this part that needed to be done for the DASNY grant for the application. So I believe it's gonna go through. I believe that it will be used, and there's still just a hair under 5,000 people in this town, so, I think it's a big asset for them. It's over, almost 2/3 funded. So, I appreciate your concern and whether it'll be used or not, but
My only concern is it's gone from being fully covered. Over the years now, it's up to taxpayer donating almost $50,000 for it.
well, the
That's a lot of
taxpayers,
money.
the taxpayers, it is all taxpayers' money, but it will come out of the ARPA funds, which was part of the American Rescue Fund. So it won't cost the local tax dollar, a payer, a dollar or even a penny. It is money that was funded for projects such as this. We have another 200 and something thousand that we gotta utilize this year. And if we don't have it allocated into projects, then you're just gonna throw it away. Because it has to be allocated within the first 2 years, and then you have 4 years to spend the money and actually get the project done. So what we need to look at is things that are reasonable that we can accomplish within the next 2 years. I'll tell you, on the projects that I've worked here since the last 3 years almost that I've been down here, it takes almost a year and a half to 2 years to bring a project up to fruition where it is ready to put a shovel in the ground. So those are some of the decisions that were made into using that. And I don't want to speak for the whole board. You guys,
Well, this is the first I've heard that it's coming out of the ARPA funds and not taxpayers' funds.
yeah, no, it was slated as an ARPA project right from
Right.
the beginning.
And like I say, my only other concern is not really a budget thing, it's that Richland Avenue, I was up there talking to a guy the other day, and there's days you can't even get an ambulance, a fire truck through there. They're parked right up to the road, a lot of unlicensed vehicles up there and stuff like that. And why it hasn't been handled before that, because like I say, I believe everybody just about here has been up on Richland Avenue, and you've had to see it.
I've been up there twice myself to talk to a couple of the landowners about cleaning that up. And if we're gonna move forward with another project that we're working on up there, that we'll have to see that done, or that the project won't move forward. But again, that really isn't a budget.
Right, that's why I say it's not really a budget item, but it's horrible up there.
Yeah.
I mean, the ground's already polluted, and you got probably 40, 50 old junk cars up there leaking who knows what into the ground.
No.
Can I make a quick, Mr. Bruno is here, but he does have a prior commitment. So if we can get through this.
That's all I got, Josh, sure, that's
No,
it.
I understand, but I kinda told Vern that,
Yep,
we'd get him out of here, whether we have to vote or not, but
yep, no, that's it for me, I'm done.
Can we keep these? Can I keep these?
Yes,
papers?
they're for
Thank
you.
So, anybody else? All right, that will conclude our public comments, and any motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All in favor?
Yes. Okay. This now relates back to your other project. Well, we're gonna do a roll call on this one. I'll forget the pledge because we already did the pledge.
Okay, Mr. Parati,
Yes,
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Facto,
Here.
Mr. Randall.
Sure. Okay, this is in discussion of resolution 2291. This does pertain to exactly what Mr. Dolan was speaking about, a temporary fix to the garage floor. And in essence of trying to get this done before it's non-tenable weather-wise, we decided to add it to the agenda tonight. What you have in the bag, I was able to secure two. I'm gonna make sure I'm on the right one. I didn't feel like that too.
Yeah, the ones about the budget, first one.
Nope, I'm gonna get through that one first. Unless we're gonna do them in order. Alright, I apologize. I'm gonna back step on that one and go to resolution 2291, which is the first resolution of the board that presents tonight. This resolution is on the budget. Motion by whereas the town board has received and made changes to the tentative budget for the year 2023, and whereas the preliminary budget for the year 2023 was presented for review during the public hearing on November 10th, 2022, where the board heard comments for or against any item therein contained, whereas the board believes that it is presented a preliminary budget for the 2023 that will meet the needs of the town of Schuyler Falls. It is therefore resolved that the town board of the town of Schuyler Falls adopts the preliminary budget for 2023 without changes to the annual budget for 2023. So I get a motion.
Motion.
By Mr. Parati, second.
Floyd, second.
By Mr. Bruno. All right, any comment?
Yes.
Yep.
We
Can
had,
I steal that pen for a minute? I'm sorry. Your pen for a minute. Can you steal it for a
yeah,
second?
there you go.
Thanks.
We,
You can go ahead. I'm
okay, we had 3 or 4 work sessions on this budget. And what troubles me about the budget is that at the very end of the last work session, I was presented with a document, all of a sudden, capital improvement projects. I had no knowledge of this at all, none whatsoever. And some of these projects I'm clearly opposed to. And the way it was done, it was never discussed. It was never discussed, and it was more or less a wish list at the end of the work session. And that isn't really the proper way of preparing a budget, in my opinion. I'm speaking for myself only, obviously. Now, to your point of the River Street project, of the River Street allocation of $100,000, that's one as well, that certainly should be toned down. That project, $100,000 to put a little building up down there, to put a state-of-the-art septic system in, because it is in a wetland. You're right. It is in the wetland. It's on a wetland map down there. And it's not as simple of a procedure as being portrayed here. Now, what was it, Kevin, here recently? Some people had planted a garden or something down there. And DEC, I believe, made them remove the flower pots or whatever it was. Do you recall that?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
got some of it, but that's not even close.
Well, no, but that's part of a wetland restriction right there.
Yeah, there was nothing to do with DEC. It was the county that does a check of that area for the state every 2 years. They go down there.
What department of the county?
It's the Clinton County Planning Department that does that, and county planning. And they seen that there was some raised garden beds. And it does say no man-made structures. So that's being addressed as soon as they can figure out where the lines are. But that's another issue that don't have to be discussed here, because that is a property owner down there. As far as what you're talking about, as far as the bathrooms, we're looking at bathrooms here and down there. The park in River Street gets used 4 seasons out of the year. That means the temporary bathrooms are there all the time. There are different avenues that we can take. There is nothing that's been finalized on what the projects, those type of projects will be, or what they
Right, Kevin,
can
I
be.
understand.
So it's just to allow the board to move forward to figure out what would be the best scenario, either up here at this town or down there. There are needs for a changing area down there, because we use that also for ice skating on the futsal court, and they also use the trails in the winter for cross-country skiing and snowshoeing. So to have a changing area that was heated would be also an advantage also down there. But again, there are no plans to put in state-of-the-art anything right now. And talking with Mr. Cutter from the planning department at Clinton County, they have introduced a bill that would allow for the use of some of the FEMA bought back lands by town, so that they can utilize some of those lands rather than the town just paying taxes to the state and the county on them, so that the constituents get something back out of it rather than just paying tax on it. So there were a couple places on the LiDAR down there that were high enough that they weren't in the 1/8 flood zone. So he thought there was a potential that we could put one down there. Up here, I don't see any issues with putting bathrooms, outside bathrooms here. And I think anybody that works down here at the town will know that they come in quite often to use the bathrooms here. If they're brave enough, I should say, to ask to come in and use our bathrooms. So there's with the splash pad going out there, if that goes through, there's going to be a need for bathrooms out there, a further need for it. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Kevin, but I promised
Oh, yeah,
Vern we'd
he's
get him
all
out of
set.
here. And all this stuff on the budget if you pass or don't pass the budget, it's fine, but it would be, Vern has
Really
really
needs
got to make a commitment here.
Right.
If we could do the budget, and then you guys don't have to spend the money. You're just putting it there so that if you want to spend it. So
Yeah.
if you guys could, you
It-
know, come up with a budget.
And I don't wanna cut any of the councilmen off or you as the deputy supervisor from any comments on any of this
I
stuff.
certainly think I should be able to say something during discussion
Right.
prior to
So-
a vote on this budget.
What we could do, and if there's prior concern, you know, and there's still concern after, as Mark needs to leave, but as Sherman stated, doesn't mean we have to spend the money. But at least it's there in case we all agree on what those projects are gonna be, in multiple
Reg, I don't mean to
areas.
cut you off.
Right, no, I
But-
understand.
But like I said, we could vote on this, we could vote it down right now. And it's my understanding that it was a full majority vote on the tentative contract. So even if we vote it down and we don't have time to rework another one out, that's gonna hold as a
But I mean, in
full
terms
budget.
of all the respect for you, you know, with your time frame here tonight, I don't mean to impede on that. However, we have a meeting on Tuesday night coming up. So why couldn't we simply vote on this budget then? We
Are you
can
gonna,
vote.
let me ask you a question, are you gonna change the budget? Because really you voted on the preliminary budget, so it's the public that has comments to change the budget. If the budget's gonna
Right.
be changed, it's a different
Okay.
story. But if the
Okay.
budget's not gonna be changed,
Okay, but my point is this, is I have several items in this budget that I want to comment on. And we could simply have a vote on this budget next week. We have until the 20th of November to do it. And we
that's
could
a
do it.
Sunday.
Let me tell you something right now, okay? We're under a timetable where we have to get this budget down, okay? We got till the 20th, period, all right? And we would have to
Yeah.
re-advertise another meeting, which we wouldn't have enough time to do.
Right.
And I don't think it's feasible to do that.
But we have a
But-
meeting on the 15th.
But again, okay, if you had concerns, I wish that it would have been brought up back then when we were working on the budget, not now. As far as the, but wait a minute.
Excuse me, my point is
You gotta
this.
go, you gotta go.
My point is very clear to you on this. This document was handed to me
Nope,
at the end of the work session, the last work session we
it
had.
was the second to the last, because we met again after
Well,
that.
this
on
right
another
here-
issue.
I have opinions on it.
We had a third one for a
And
particular
I
reason
just-
you didn't even mention though.
Well,
But I will tell you this, I've been asking you guys, all of you, not only
You got a motion.
but everybody here, to come up with some capital improvement projects for the town. The monies are getting high enough where we need to start using some of them for capital improvements. We also have to spend the ARPA money, which is way off the subject of this budget. But I got nothing, okay? So I put together what I thought we had discussed and what was needed for the town. You don't have to spend the money at the end, it takes 3 people on this board to do it.
speaking of ARPA
Kevin, you
money
have a motion
for a
in
minute,
second on the-
speaking of
Yeah.
ARPA money, we've given some raises out to 2 officials, some high raises. Now, in terms of taxpayers' funding, we could always use ARPA funding to support these 2 raises for these 2 positions here. Instead of taking the money out of the taxpayers, we could do it for the year 23 and 24. So we could take that increased performance pay that they're getting because they're short-staffed, both of them. Certainly the highway, he's a working highway superintendent. So we could adjust this budget around to take those monies out of the ARPA funding
You gotta be careful doing that, I think, Reg, because we just cut, or asked to cut somebody. And that just gives him a chance to say, also, we could do that for myself.
I don't wanna make this drag on any longer than I got it for you, okay? We got some fundamental differences, you and I, on a few things.
No,
ARPA
we
money,
don't.
yeah, we do.
We don't at all.
Yeah, we do, because
Do you have a
ARPA
calendar?
money should
Do you
be
have a
used
calendar? Because there's no
better
work session scheduled.
in the betterment of the town.
Okay,
To
now
help-
that,
To
okay,
help the town.
now
They
that
can't
you
work on
will
a budget.
open the
use-
door
if
for
you use
me
it.
The
to
work
draw up
session? No,
ARPA
it's okay,
funding.
because that
Okay,
was a
good,
little
I'm
work
glad you
session.
did
There's no
it.
work
No, you
session
brought
to
it
I'm
do.
glad you did it.
No, I didn't bring it up. I'm gonna explain to you that my feelings of it, because you brought it up, okay?
Hang on,
As a
hang on,
salary.
guys. Can I
And I
just say
said
something?
that I think it should be used
There's
for
no work
betterment of the
session
town,
scheduled.
not just to be used for a salary where it's used 1 year
But yeah.
and it goes away. And I'm not even sure that we can utilize it for a
Yes, you
salary.
can. But Kevin, on the other hand, you're saying it, and I'll close on the ARPA. But you're turning around right now, and you've done it already with ARPA. And you spent money on Rixon Avenue, which is totally inappropriate. And it's gonna be a real problem because you're servicing private property over there. And I'm not backing off on that because that's an improper use of ARPA.
It's got nothing to do with
Guys,
the budget.
seriously, you have a motion and a second on the floor. You really need to vote on it.
You ready?
If there's no more discussion is part of a resolution. I can't not allow discussion.
The only problem is I just checked with the calendar, you have no work sessions to work on a budget. And we
No,
have
I
no
don't-
time to advertise.
I covered that.
Okay, I'll continue and I promise I'll be brief, okay? I'll bring up just a couple of other items that I'm not comfortable with. And quickly is this. The $10,000 for hiring parade events and what have you and musical events. I asked the board if we could have at least one of the 4 music activities, music in the park, at the Salmon River Park. I asked for that. No one wanted to really go along with that. So other than that,
Isn't that discussion down the road?
Reg, we can, I agree with you.
He's
Reg.
gonna
I'm not-
sit here and grandstand and let him do it. It's
No,
fine.
no,
Kevin,
listen,
I'm
listen,
not
Reg,
grandstanding.
Reg,
I have the right as a town board
Yep,
member
you do.
to
Go
address
ahead
this
and
board.
sit there
Please,
and
please,
grandstand.
I told Vern that we wouldn't make
Yeah,
him wait for
time
his
frame.
next
I
appointment.
understand. Go ahead.
So if you could put it up to vote, then you're 100% right, Reg. We can talk about this afterwards. I'm sure everybody will talk about it.
Mr. Parati?
Yeah.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Facto?
No.
Mr. Randall?
Yes.
Okay.
There are, with an explanation, there are things in this budget that I do not like, okay? Everything that we do in this body here is a set of compromises. There are some things that took place that I am not happy with, including some salary changes. But in the essence of this town having a budget to work off of, and in the good interest that the people of this town have put in our hands to provide those services for them, that is the reason that I am going to approve this budget with my vote as a yes.
That's your opinion, we all have our opinions.
I agree.
Kevin, do we go to the next resolution?
Yep. It's, Resolution 2292. Motion be it the highway garage floor is indeed of need of repairs, whereas it is stated in the procurement policy, quotes were solicited 60 days ago and to date. Only 2 have been received. Lawyer Construction, 18,000, and Luck Builders for 43,337, which you'll see in your packets. Now be it therefore resolved that the town board of the town of Schuyler Falls authorizes the hiring of Laware Construction, which is the lower of the two, to do the repair work on the highway garage floor for a quoted price of $18,000. This would have to start with a motion. Somebody wants to,
Motion.
motion, can I steal that again? Greg? By Mr. Perrott.
I'll get another one.
Yeah, I know, I don't, mine was attached to the thing, I don't know where it went.
I didn't take it.
I think you did.
I didn't take it.
Do we have a second?
We have a second? Second. Mr. Bruno,
Discussion, and I'll be fast.
can I just
Oh.
do the what's there first? The
Go ahead.
the two quotes were received, are attached to the resolution.
Isn't this 36,000, not 18? It's two parts.
The floor is 18,000. The second part, I didn't put as part of this resolution because that was the
Oh.
grading into the parking lot and all that in the back, and I did not get any quotes on it, other than the one
Oh,
on
it's
that
good,
one.
that's why I was asking.
Yeah, I apologize
That's all right.
if you wanted it all there. I thought we were just trying to get that
Yeah.
area in front of the doors fixed for him.
He had told me also, and Mike too, that this was not a temporary, this was a permanent fix, right?
Yeah.
I guess depending on what goes forward afterwards.
I agree with you, Mike. This could be a permanent fix or it could be a temporary fix. It depends on what happens when we bid the rest of the whole project out.
Right.
And whether they want to tie into that floor or they don't want to tie into that floor.
So Lux, would that include just the front? That bid is just for the front? With-
Yes, that was just on, compare the pull of the aprons in the front and where the floor is crushed and needs to be cut out and repaired.
So it's.
And you'll
apples to
see
apples.
that in their estimates, one's a little bit more detailed. Definitely say Lux is a lot more detailed. As to the work, they're all performing all pretty much the same work.
Thanks, Vern.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Can I just, Mike, you've seen the bids, is it what you want? Is Laware gonna do what you want them to do?
I'm sure he will. I'm sure it'll be more than sufficient. He said it would be pretty much a permanent.
Okay.
Okay, discussion on this one. I'm trying not to complicate this, but the second $18,000 bid, Mike, for the rear of the garage, is that something that's gonna be forthcoming soon, or?
It will need to be addressed because they have water issues.
Oh, sure, I'm aware of that,
So,
Kevin.
yeah.
But is it something that's gonna be addressed within a few weeks, or?
I would hold, I'm only
If
one on the
the-
board. I would hold off on that until spring if it was myself.
Okay.
Just because we're so late in the year. But it should go along with whatever work we complete, when we do the complete project. That should be addressed.
Okay, because I was
That's what I would
confused
think.
with the way it was in there, I did.
No, I just
No.
wanted, both those quotes were in there on Delaware, so I left them both.
We're running out of time.
But I understand the time, Mike. But I'm wondering, does it have to be put out for bid in the paper one day?
No.
It doesn't. Why? Because of the
the
money
amount.
amount?
Because of the money amount.
What is it, 20,000?
I think it's I think it's 1,000, don't quote me on this, but it's like $1,999, I think, to $4,999, something like that, that we're looking at. Once you go over that 30-something thousand, then it would require even a resolution. It would, this requires at least,
It's up to
That's right.
$34,999.
that's
Oh,
what I said,
okay.
Yeah, well, up to,
$34,999.
wait,
And the only other thing, the other question, Kevin, I have on it is, on both bids, it didn't show scale pay for the employees.
It did on
It did
that.
on this one?
It did.
It didn't. So
That one did.
what are you gonna have to just ask him or mention it?
Well, he
Is
knew
it-
he was bidding it for a pound.
Is he
and-
familiar with that? He must be. Oh,
And he
I can't
didn't
speak for him,
include
but
any
yes.
Okay.
tax in the bid.
okay,
So that is something that we will have to make sure that we discuss with
Okay.
him to make sure
Okay.
he's paying prevailing wages. That there's no ands ifs or buts about that. We have to pay.
okay.
He does, which means we will have to pay the contract.
Okay.
with-
And
this-
the time frame is good? He can do it right away?
That's what he said
Oh,
last time I
okay.
checked.
That's it?
This-
Nothing else?
This other thing though, for 43, would we be able, that's over that 34,000, we wouldn't even be able to award that without going out, would we?
No,
No. No, that would have to go out to seal bid.
Could you explain scale pay?
It's union scale wages. So basically, a municipality is bound to follow whatever the state has set for union scale wages. Does that explain it?
Yeah, do you know what that amount is?
Depends on the
It
position.
depends on what the project is or what the job is. A laborer or a machinery operator, a coal fire operator. I mean, you can go right down to electrician or a janitor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're all on there. They're on the comptroller's website. I got them in my office if you want a copy of them. But they're
Yeah.
very ambiguous. And when I talked to the state comptroller's office when they popped in here this year, midsummer, with their badges on, you know, it was because they said your website sucks, and I said your information sucks. I said it's just what I said. It's very ambiguous. It doesn't describe well certain jobs that we were trying to hire or need to hire. And he laughed, and the other guy kind of goes, "Well, you've been on our website." He goes, "I guess we don't have too much to discuss." I actually showed it to him, and I had no idea that they were coming because it was what they call a courtesy visit. To see if we needed any help with anything, but they were checking just to make sure we were doing things right.
Okay.
But as it turned out, they kind of laughed and smiled and said, "Have a good day." But yeah, and they understood it. I said, "You really need to update your website and get the job descriptions, you know, more specific. They're just really ambiguous. You could try to, like HVAC. The reason I was looking it up at the time is we were doing a heating system for the rec shack up there. I should say the rec shack, the rec boat.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out what prevailing wages should be. And I asked both of them here that day, and they're like, "Well, that's kind of like a, you know, it doesn't really qualify. You can look in there. It's got HVAC, and it says something about, you know, don't quote me now. Say it was an hourly wage of like $20-something an hour, or $26 an hour, up to, you know, because it's a slide scale, up to maybe $56 an hour.
And that's what the contractor's required to pay his men?
He's required to pay prevailing wages, and most all of it is determined by the unions. The unions negotiate those scale wages on state projects or county or municipal projects. And the cost goes up because they call prevailing wages. That's what it is.
Kevin, are we ready to vote on it now, tonight, or?
Yeah,
Oh,
we
okay.
got a resolution
Oh.
here if you want to.
Okay.
I mean,
No, okay,
I was
no
trying to get
problem. So should we add to the resolution something regarding prevailing wage? Would that be just an idea to cover us on this? And to cover him,
what I-
really.
What I
Cover
had,
him as well.
we don't have to have it in here.
Okay,
Okay,
Yeah.
and that's another thing that I checked into on that one particular project.
all right,
And basically, what I had to do was the company that did the work had to write that they did pay prevailing wages on the job.
Okay.
It's on the town, but it's mostly on the employee, the contractor.
all right.
They're obligated to do that, but the town is obligated to make sure that they are doing it. But if somebody's gonna really get in trouble for not paying prevailing wages, it's not really gonna be so much us as though we're oversight of it. It's gonna be the contractor,
Okay,
okay? That's the way I understand.
okay, thank you, Kevin.
So I guess that will bring us to, and we lost Mr. Bruno, but we have till 3 of us if you wanna continue with it.
okay, Mr. Parati?
Yes.
Do you have a
Mr.
motion and second?
Yeah, we do.
Yep,
Mr. Bruno.
Mr. Brady and Mr. Bruno seconded it.
But Mr. Bruno's not here now.
I'll second.
What did you guys do without me?
Mr. I'll give it to Mr.
It
Parati.
mattered.
Mr. Facto,
We had.
Mr. Randall,
Yeah.
I'm trying to reach John. To ask about the email for you.
Okay, is there anything else?
Website. Anything happening there? Or is that tonight for that?
I mean, it's not on the agenda, but it's business that we're working on. Let me give that back to you before I forget. I have sent out to all of you what I got for quotes, and the two that were recommended. I've also contacted one of our town attorneys as to what would need to take place next. So I asked the councilmen to give me some feedback on what one, or none, if they're happy or not with it. I'm waiting on, I think I'm waiting on one left.
Council?
Yeah.
I responded to you.
You did.
Okay.
And Mr. Facto responded, and Howard responded,
Okay.
so you can figure out the rest, but I'm waiting on one. And then we'll move forward with that, and that would, again, even though some of these are under the dollar amounts that I would have to go to the board for resolution on, I still bring it back as a resolution, and I want to make sure that the full board is in, or the majority, excuse me, the majority of the board was in with the direction we'll go with that, if that answers your question. But yeah, I've been working
Bring
on
them
it.
closer.
Yes.
Can I bring up one thing? So, I'm sorry. Mr. Parati the other day tried calling this office and was unable to get through. I called this office today and I got a hold of Mike Snyder
Town garage.
at the town garage. So Kevin and I spoke and he gave me permission to go out and start looking for a new phone service. I contacted Spectrum, Verizon, and West Telecom. Hopefully by next Tuesday's meeting, I'll have a little more insight. Because of the holiday, they said, well, it's gonna go into next week, but they'll take a look at it. One of the problems is that, like Spectrum, a lot of their network works off from the internet, and so you might have to switch internet and phone at the same time. But I'll get some prices and let you guys know, but Kevin's aware of the problem, everybody I think is aware of the problem.
we do have Spectrum for our internet.
Do we? Oh, perfect. So, and he had said it would make it a lot less expensive, but their phone system works through their internet also, so.
And it's been an ongoing issue on and off down here for a year and a half.
And we
It was
basically have to
switched.
fix our own
I think it was
phones, and we
switched,
can't do
what,
it.
5 years ago? I know it was during Rick's,
Mhm.
in 10 year down here. That they switched that. The biggest problem we have is getting somebody here. They want to do everything on the phone, or they want you to go and try different electronic stuff that they're trying to explain to you on the phone. They don't have anybody that can come out here. I've never seen anything like it. And
Try the
I won't say
IRS.
what the company is, but I'm just saying it's not user friendly. So yeah, when he mentioned that he would be willing to get that information, I got a million things going on right now, so that took a little bit off on my plate. So I appreciate
I'll
you
keep you
doing
guys
that,
posted.
bringing that back. I know most of the employees down here are pretty much fed up with this phone system. If I don't want to speak for them, from what I.
No, we are, we're very I mean, people,
It's not only her.
it's not only the employees, it's the people that call the
Yeah.
office that can't get through, or, oh, we called and nobody's answering. Well, we don't, because it goes to the highway garage and then goes to their voicemail, and, I mean, it's very confusing to everybody.
So we had it taken care of.
And just one other quick thing.
Yep.
Sharon, you would know, the hours of this JCEO, when are they open here?
She comes in at 8 o'clock in the morning, and she's here until noon 30.
Well,
That's
Kevin can
changed.
speak, it's changing.
Oh,
How?
Okay.
Guess I know.
That we'll be getting the same amount of hours, but they're having the same problem everybody else is with staffing.
yeah.
So they asked if it was, I think it's Tuesdays and Thursdays. And do all the hours on those 2 days rather than coming in 3 times a week. So the services, hours wise, aren't going to change. I asked her to give me because our contract doesn't say that they'll be here on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You know what I'm saying? We're not open on Friday. I'm just throwing stuff out there.
Yeah.
So I asked her to give us on the new contract, because they're up at the end of this year, it's the year of the contract,
Yeah.
to actually write in the contract what days they will be here and for how many hours. That way, we know that we're getting what we pay for, and we're getting the help that we hired them to do for the constituents that may need it in the town. And right now, sometimes she said there would be days where they have to do training, and it might be on our hours, but they have to have that training. So, or somebody might call in sick or whatever. I said, okay, I understand that, but I still want something saying in writing that if this will help you, that we're not losing any hours, and according to the contract, and what days they should be here, rather than guessing.
Yeah.
Just,
I will say that they are getting busier
And busier, the word's getting out. Thanks.
It's amazing how many people are coming here, especially for the nutrition program. Right now with all the heat programs, everything.
Yeah.
Been a great program, believe me.
It's helped out quite a few families around here.
And just FYI, Sarah said that they were working on getting a sign with the hours that would be posted for the, which makes sense, right?
Sure.
Once they feel
I'll close with, I'm welcome to hear from any of the councilmen, any projects that they would like to move forward in this town. But this is the year that we needed to put some funding in that budget to capital improvement projects. As we went over the first year, since I've been here, we passed a local law to go over the 2% tax cap. Now, if you subtract what we put in for those capital improvement projects, you're gonna see that that budget is under the 2% tax cap. So none of those monies are gonna cost the taxpayer any more. It's money that's already in our unallocated fund reserves. It's banked money. The other thing that you wanna be careful of, that the New York State Comptroller's Office doesn't tell you how much you can have in your unallocated fund reserves. But this town has gone through it in the past where you have to have a reason for having that kind of funds in an unallocated fund reserve. And without getting into the specifics of that whole debacle, we're getting up to the point now of funding that we need to start spending that money and putting it back in and earmarking it, at the very least, earmarking it for projects that need to be completed or that we're holding or retaining that money for projects. So again, now that that funding is in the budget, if this board continues next year, they can pick out more projects as long as we stay within the same funding ranges, about $500,000 worth that we put in this year. We can continue with that and not even have to pass a local law to go over the 2% tax cap, because it's already budgeted in this budget and it will carry over to the next budget. If you guys want to delete it and get rid of it, you would have to start all over again to try to get some of that money in line items without going over the 2%. So this is a banner year for the constituents of this town to get some things done for them. We could bring it all and put it in the bring down the general fund. And you could bring it down to probably 15 cents. And you'll never change or have money to change anything in the town. The only thing you will do is lower that general tax for the constituents. We're already the second lowest tax town by a far in the county, and we're the 5th largest. We deal with the landfill out there with trucks and sometimes smells and other things. So I just look at it like this, it would be nice to take some of the money from the adverse effects of having that and use it as an advantage to bring some things to the people of this town. And that's why I put it in, because I've been asking for a while to bring some projects, including the ARPA money projects. We have to, by the end of this year, have that money allocated, not spent. We got another 2 years to spend it, but it has to be allocated, or we will give that money back to the government.
By the end of 22?
By the end of 23, so next year. I apologize, my bad. But in this year's budget, this year's 2023 budget, we have to have it allocated. At first it was 1 year, they did give us 2 years. That's all I got to say. Yes.
Speaking of exactly on what Kevin's saying, I think I mentioned this to Mike. Back when I used to be on the board, twice a year, at least twice a year, sometimes 3 times a year, one of our work nights would be a field trip. Basically, the whole board got together, took a couple cars, and we went out and we checked sidewalks, we checked buildings that were in disrepair, just took a ride around town. I mean, everything from lighting to if somebody has a project and say, well, I'd like to do this down on River Street, I'd like to do this over on Salmon River Road. Everybody went over, yep, and sidewalks was a big thing. Everybody went over, and that way you looked at it and you seen exactly what they were talking about, and everybody either agreed or disagreed. And it was just a way of looking at your town, seeing what's there, seeing what needs to be fixed, and I thought it was great. Plus, we always had a 6-pack or 2, but back then.
Except the driver.
Back then, I wouldn't start both not the driver. No, but seriously, no, I thought it was a great program, and it gave the whole board a chance to look at the town, different parts of the town, do half the town one time, and then the next time do the other half of the town.
It was 3 hamlets, so you could break it into thirds.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You got Woods Mills, you got Tosca.
It's just a suggestion on my
And then
part.
you got-
It worked.
That kind of brings up another topic of the new zoning comprehensive plan. I haven't heard a lot about that group. Are they ready to send any kind of a plan over to the town board at
Yeah,
this point? Or
I have nothing from the chairman at this time that is in writing to send. What they have been working on is going